Hey there, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, my name is Lorraine, and in this video I'm going to be going over Gemini Sun with Virgo Moon. I'm going to start off the video by talking about what a typical Gemini Sun is like, and then I'm going to get into the moon placement and talk about it as a combination. So if there's certain aspects of the Gemini Sun description that don't quite resonate or make a lot of sense, then hold on until you hear the moon placement and it'll probably tie together quite nicely and make a lot of sense. Little disclaimer before I get started that, even when you do hear your moon placement, there may be some aspects that don't quite make sense. Maybe it's a little different because I can't see the rest of your chart. So keep in mind this is only 2 placements of your entire chart. And so when I am talking about these descriptions and this combination, I mean like in general, most of the time, tendencies. This is what the person with this pairing would act like, barring any other placements that would counteract these expressions. And that is a good segue to tell you that if I now have paid birth chart readings available, so if you would like me to look at the rest of your chart and get a more complete and in-depth examination of your chart, I have paid readings available on my website, and so I will leave a link in the description. I have 5 different packages available as of the time I'm recording this with 5 different prices. So link in the description if you would like to check that out. I will also probably be glancing over here from time to time because I have my very thorough notes and I don't want to miss anything. When I'm talking to the camera, honestly, my mind goes blank. So I have very carefully crafted notes that I put together myself. So just so you know, let's get started with Gemini Sun. So basically, I'm going to list a few descriptive words of Gemini, and then I'm going to get into giving you a more complete picture of how this plays out in real life. I'm all about explaining things practically, giving you a complete picture of this, of like a real person with this pairing. And so Gemini Suns are very energetic, social, adaptable, conversational. They're great communicators. They're persuasive, curious, restless, easily bored, high-strung. They tend to quite enjoy gossip, and they are a bit disorganized. So Geminis are often social butterflies, and again, this can depend on whether this person is introverted or extroverted. I know a lot of people assume that all Geminis are extroverted because they tend to be that way, but some are introverted. Even if they are introverted, they're usually very good at socializing and communicating. It's just whether or not that exhausts them or not, and they need alone time. But for the most part, they just really enjoy having conversations with all types of people, and they're good at it. They make really good first impressions because they're really able to tailor their conversations and how they present themselves to who they're around. They're really good at reading a room. Now, Geminis have a lot of energy. They are very easily restless and they're very easily bored, and so they need a lot of stimulation. Now, because of this, they not only enjoy change, but they actually need it. They need that variety, that fresh experiences and that change in their life in order to keep them entertained. Because they're always on the go, looking for new topics, places to explore, things to learn, people to talk to, their knowledge of subjects and their connections to people tend to be a little more surface level and not super deep. And that's because they just don't, because they're always on the move to new, they don't have enough really time to be able to go deeper into a subject or go deeper with connecting with someone. And it's because they get bored so easily. And so they tend to know a little about a lot and never really master anything, kind of a jack of all trades. So if a Gemini does actually know a lot about one's particular subject, or like maybe even mastering it, going to school for it, pursuing it as a career, that sort of thing, or if they have a really deep connection with someone, they're married to them, very committed to them, that's something that they're learning, or that someone that they're with has managed to keep them interested for a very long time to the point that they're willing to commit to it. That's a really actually impressive feat because they're so easily bored. So if it's a subject that they're learning, maybe they're going to school for it, then it's something that doesn't have a ceiling. It's something that just keeps them interested to where they're always learning new information in it. There's new levels to it. And anytime they learn a new piece of information, it's just as exciting as when they first learned about the topic. It's going to be something like that. I feel like as soon as Gemini feels like they've mastered something and there's nothing more like new to learn, like there's no point. It's so boring for them. Most Geminis would have abandoned it far before they got to that point. And so if they are mastering a subject, it must be very interesting to them and have new levels to it. And if they're really committed to someone and have that like either deep friendship or deep relationship with someone, then that's a person who is really able to adapt and keep up with Gemini. They're definitely not boring. It's someone who's always growing with them, who's always down for their adventures or their fresh experiences and willing to do hobbies with them, or at the very least hear about them and be just as excited to hear about them as they were the first time Gemini told them about something cool they did. They actually love to listen to people who are experts, masters, or just know a lot about one subject. And that can actually be really attractive and interesting to them because they're not generally like that. And because then if you know a lot about something or you're an expert or a master, chances are that is information that Gemini does not know. And so it's very fascinating to them because they probably don't know it because they haven't been able to devote enough time to get to that level. And so it's really fascinating and probably attractive to them to be able to learn that from someone, and because then you're connecting on that intellectual level, which Gemini really likes. Now with Gemini, they are very energetic, but sometimes this isn't always physical energy. I think pretty much every Gemini has that mental energy. They're very mentally energetic, and then some can be physically energetic, and that usually kind of depends on if they're more extroverted or introverted. If they're more introverted, it's mostly just that mental energy. And if they're more extroverted, it's usually kind of a combination of both, but they'll probably express that energy more physically in order to try and process everything that's going on there in their head. So Gemini believes in many truths, and like an infinite number of truths, as opposed to Gemini's opposite sign in Sagittarius, which is in the search of or believes in one absolute truth. For Gemini, something can be true for one person while the opposite can be true for another person, and Gemini views both as being equally valid and equally true. And Gemini also gets very caught up in the moment. When they're having a conversation with someone, that's the most important conversation at that time. And so when they're talking with someone, they could be talking with person A and agreeing with them that what they believe is true, and then they could have a conversation with person B, and now that conversation is the most important, and they could agree with person B who believes the exact opposite of person A, and then people can kind of wonder about this inconsistently, like you agreed with both of us, and it's because one, they got caught up in the moment, and that's the most important thing in that moment. But also, again, Gemini believes in multiple truths, and so they believe that person A is true because they believe it's true for them, and person B as well. So when people wonder, like, oh, which one do you believe? Like for Gemini, it's both. It's all of them. No two beliefs are mutually exclusive in their mind because it's true for someone. And this is kind of how I imagine Gemini. Like, you know, when someone starts drinking really early in the day, and they usually get called out for it, and then they're like, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Gemini is like getting called out for talking about an opinion or belief that contradicts something they said earlier, and they're like, it's true for someone, or I got caught up in the moment. And that's pretty much a good summary of Gemini. And now another caveat to this is that Gemini, I think, is notorious for saying things and making plans and then just as easily going back on them. And again, it's from getting caught up in the moment. In the moment, it was the most important thing, and they're like, yes, let's do it, and they agree to it, but then the moment passed and they're probably caught up in a new moment that is now the most important thing, or they could have just completely forgot about the first thing that they agreed to. So like a good way to summarize that would be flaky, I guess, yeah, which as an Aries I find extremely frustrating. And now, like I said about Gemini saying one thing and then agreeing to the complete opposite, it's also really hard for Gemini to like keep track of everything that they say and everything that they agree to, because for them it's as fast as like their thoughts. It would be like trying to keep track of every thought that you had in a week. And you're probably going to have some pretty contradictory thoughts throughout the week. It's based, how do you feel about your life and your job when you're stuck in traffic on the way to work Monday morning to a job that you don't enjoy, versus how do you feel about your life Friday when you're about to go party for the weekend or go on a week trip. So those are probably be some conflicting thoughts and feelings, but for us that's considered normal. For Gemini, like that's how it is when they're expressing information and points of view and opinions and beliefs. It's as fleeting as that, and it can be quite contradictory. And to them that's normal, because Gemini is actually quite good. It's the sign of the twins. It's a dual sign. It's like they have an alter ego. It's like they have two sides to them. I mean, ask any Gemini you know, or if you're a Gemini, then you know what I'm talking about. But if you don't know, like if you ask a Gemini, do you feel like two different people? Every single one of them will be like, yes, all the time. Like it's like they have an alter ego, or they just have just two different sides to them, and both are just as genuine, and it depends which side you're getting, which one wants to express itself today, you know? Now, like I mentioned, Gemini loves talking, communication, conversations, and if they're a little more introverted, I find this is usually directed a little more into, say, like writing, texting, social media. If they're more extroverted, then that's having conversations and talking with people, and usually it's the more extroverted ones I find that tend to really enjoy the gossip. But I think pretty much every Gemini enjoys gossip, and I feel like when they say they don't, they're lying. That's a different side of them that was out that day. The other side of them loves gossip. So, and now Geminis are like really good at gossip too. They know everything. Like if at work, they know everything that's going on. If you want to know all of the hot gossip, if you want to know like the rumors, everything that's going on, ask a Gemini. Like my mom's a Gemini, and she knows everything that happens at work. She knows absolutely everything. If you want to know what's going on, you talk to her. If she doesn't know, she will find out. It's like she's got eyes and ears and spies everywhere. She is the first to know about everything. And part of why is because she, again, is that Gemini able to get along with everyone genuinely. So everyone likes her, and so they tell her everything. So then she knows everything. All right, so now I wanted to add some of the unevolved characteristics of Gemini, and I wanted to make sure that I gave them a fair shake first, because I feel like they get a lot of hate, especially online. I take these Sun Moon combination videos very seriously. I put a lot of work and effort into them because I'm making them for someone who either has this pairing or loves someone who does. And so I want them to be beneficial. You know, the last thing I want is for someone to come watch these videos and feel like shit about their sign, because I know how that feels, and it's just completely unhelpful. So I want to make sure that when I make these videos, I'm doing every sign and every pairing justice, and that I'm showing that every sign and every pairing has the potential to be a great person when they're healthy, and to really show what all of the signs and pairings have to offer. And so I'll be honest, that's kind of why I fell behind in the Sun Moon combinations, because I got to Gemini and it was just one of the most challenging signs to fully figure out. And it's not like I didn't know about them before, and it's not even like I particularly dislike Gemini. It's just that, like, you know, we're all approaching astrology from our own biases, and I'm an Aries, you know, that is sextile Gemini, so that, like, I kind of get them a little bit, but the rest of my chart, I have 3 planets in Sagittarius, which is opposite Gemini, and then I have 2 planets and my midheaven in Pisces, which is square Gemini, and so I have a lot of opposite, like, difficult aspects to Gemini, so it was just difficult for me to fully get them, like fully understand them on a deep level and really appreciate them and what they have to offer. And I didn't want to make these videos until I got to that point, and I don't make any of my videos until I'm at that point, because the last thing I want is to just pile on the shitty stereotypes, because every sign gets that enough already, including I think especially Gemini. But on the other hand, I'm very aware that every sign has their challenges, their unevolved characteristics, and so I don't want to completely gloss over those, and so I'm going to get into some of the unevolved characteristics of Gemini now. So unevolved Geminis can be cunning, superficial, manipulative, and they can be very, like, when, again, unevolved, not all Geminis, but they are very good at lying and bending the truth. And they can also be unfaithful to their partners, and unfortunately some stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason. And unevolved Geminis can be two-faced in the worst way, you know, where they're talking, like, they're really nice, polite to your face, and then they're talking shit about you and spreading rumors behind your back. Or they do something really shitty and then they pretend it never happened, and they act like everything's normal. And then if you ever try to confront them about it, they're the kind of people that will either avoid it, deny it, or lie some more. And again, this is unevolved Geminis. It's essentially the worst expression of the sign. That said, though, most Geminis are big avoiders, especially when it comes to conflict. So even if they are a generally healthy Gemini, if you try confronting conflict head on, it's probably not going to go very productively, or at least it's just going to make them very uncomfortable. Why is your butt wet? Say hello. You're so pretty. Now, before I get to the moon placement, I wanted to let you know that I have officially launched my relationship course called Relationship Astrology 101. In that course, I would teach you all about how to build amazing relationships based off of your birth charts and compatibility. And this isn't just going to be one of those auto-generated charts. We're going to really dive deep into your charts and understanding how you and your partner, if you have one, how you guys are compatible and what ways you aren't, because everyone has certain amounts of compatibility and difficult aspects in their chart. And so we would actually go over how to overcome some of those challenges in order to build a truly fulfilling, amazing relationship. So if you were interested in that, check it out. I have a link in the description. Enrollment is available until August 15th. I may extend it if we need some more time to get some more students, but as of the time I'm recording this, it's available at a discount until the 15th. So check that out, link in the description. So now we get to Virgo Moon. So Virgo Moons are practical, hardworking, analytical, and detail-oriented. They really enjoy learning things when it has a practical application. They like getting a job done and a job done right. They have very high standards. They hold themselves, especially themselves and others, to very high standards, sometimes impossible standards. They can actually kind of struggle with self-confidence because of these very high standards. They're their harshest critic. They are very hard on themselves if they don't meet these standards because they're perfectionists. These standards are often perfection, and so if they don't meet it enough, if they're too hard on themselves, then they can actually really struggle with self-confidence. And that's when I find Virgo is very critical of other people, because misery loves company, but also because it's kind of this right that they have to wrong, because they feel this level of duty that they need to fulfill. You know, they actually are very geared towards service, but it's more out of this sense of obligation and duty and responsibility, and they have to do it perfectly. And then when they're really hard on themselves, and then they're just feeling terrible about themselves, and then they see another person not feeling that same level of duty or meeting those same level. Whenever I say duty, I think I'm saying like a poop, but duty. They see someone not meeting those same standards or even feeling the need to, then they feel like they need to let that person know and be quite critical of them because they're harder on themselves. And I think one of the reasons that Virgo is very hard on themselves, it has these high standards, is because they need to feel useful. A lot of their self-worth is tied to whether or not they feel useful. And I also just think that Virgo is really geared, or they're built for careers like, say, the military or a doctor or surgeon and things like that, where high standards, like they need to have really high standards because people's lives are on the line, right? And both of those fields are really geared towards service, like whether it's service for other people, service for your country, and that sort of thing. But then Virgo kind of takes that same mentality that you would need in those fields and applies it to really everything. And so they are kind of a neurotic placement. They don't really know how to relax, I guess. When the Virgo placement is healthy, they're about pushing people to be the best they can be. They don't like seeing people half-ass things because they themselves don't believe in half-assing anything. Like, if you're not gonna do your best, why even do it? Like, why even try? So they're very blunt about when people don't meet standards, or when, like, if the person just isn't doing their best, if they're not being the best they can be. Virgos are very blunt and honest about it, and they don't tend to spare people's feelings with how they express these things. They're just very to the point. But if they're unevolved, I find that critical nature of themselves isn't actually trying to help people be better. It's more about tearing people down to make themselves feel better. So that is one tendency I've seen of unevolved Virgo placements. But that said, they are extremely hard workers. Like I said, very detail oriented, and they'll always get a job done, and a job done right. And so they're also very practical about how to get what they want and how to do a good job. So as a combination, this is a little interesting because these two signs are square each other, but on the other hand, they are both ruled by Mercury. So they're both very cerebral, they're very mental, they're very intellectual, and can complement each other quite well, because I find Gemini is more about ideas and learning just for the sake of learning and all these other things. Virgo is about learning things practically and finding out how to make it real, how to actually take what they're learning and put it into practical life and make something better. On the other hand, this person may struggle with confidence because, like I said, that's something Virgo Moon tends to struggle with anyways, and they get this fulfillment out of getting a job done and getting it done right. And when that doesn't happen, that's when they feel pretty terrible about themselves because they're really hard on themselves. And so this could be difficult when you combine that with Gemini, because especially if this person also then has Gemini Mercury, because then you have someone who just has a hard time really sticking with one thing, because now you've got Gemini Sun and Gemini Mercury, and Mercury is going to be the thought process and the decision making. You know, they flit from thing to thing, and they naturally have many things on the go, and they lose interest so quickly because they get bored so easily. And so they could really have all of these really half-baked projects and things that they've never really seen through or finished, and that can be really difficult for the Virgo Moon. And so it could be hard to find a balance with these signs being square at each other. Finding a balance to where they're both satisfied. It really could be one or the other. If the person has Taurus Mercury, they're probably more practical. If you add Cancer in there, that's a whole other thing. The other thing worth looking at is if you or the person you know with this pairing is born during the day or at night. If they're born during the day, they probably relate more to the Gemini. If they're born at night, they probably relate more to the Virgo, and so they're probably more likely to finish projects. But squares aren't a lost cause. They just require more effort to work. They require more effort to see a benefit. And with practice, I think they could find a balance in this nice in-between where this person doesn't take on too many projects at once so that they're actually able to finish things and get them done well. But then this would also be great having the Gemini who is ready to move on to the next thing quite quickly. That'll prevent Virgo from being able to fall into that like perfectionist trap where they never, like, something's never done, it's never perfect, it's never good enough. It'll probably help them be able to get something done well and really good and then move on to the next. And so then that could also really help overcome that Virgo procrastination, because Gemini is really ready to jump into things and get things done, and that quick decision making. And that'll help avoid that Virgo procrastination that they fall into, because they know that whenever they start something, they have to finish it and it has to be perfect. So that could help them avoid that if they're able to strike a nice balance with these two. But both of these placements really enjoy knowledge and information, and because of that, they're both ruled by Mercury. Gemini loves pretty much all knowledge and all information. Virgo wants it to be practical, and they also admire mastery. And so this person would love connecting with people who, like, on an intellectual level that shares their knowledge. Gemini would love that. And then if this person is an expert at something, or they're sharing very practical information that's very useful to know, then the Virgo Moon would absolutely love that as well, and probably be quite attracted to this person. That's all I have planned for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Like I mentioned earlier, I have paid birth charts available, and so if you would like a more complete analysis of your chart, I have different packages and prices available with a link in the description. And if you're interested in relationships and compatibility and all that great stuff, and want an amazing relationship like the one I have, then link in the description. And we're talking an Aries Sun, Sagittarius Moon that managed to settle down, so it's pretty incredible when you think about it. Anyway, so paid birth chart readings and my relationship course, all available with links in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't already considered liking this video and subscribing, I'd really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone who has helped support this channel so far and brought it to where it is. I'm monetized with over 2,000 subscribers now, so thank you very much.